Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I'm from executeautomation.com and welcome to part 18 of our build, deploy, test with Jenkins 2.0 for Java and C#. And in this video, I'll be talking about configuring agents in Jenkins 2.0. So before watching this part, I would request you to watch part 17 since this part is going to be a complete continuation of that part. Alright, so let's get started. Agents in Jenkins. Jenkins supports the master-slave mode where the workload of building projects are delegated to multiple slave nodes following a single Jenkins installation to host a large number of projects and to provide different environments needed for build and test. So here the slave is nothing but the agent, so it is used interchangeably in Jenkins world, where if you specify agents, the agent is nothing but the slave. So if you just search for slave in the Jenkins UI, you will never find it. But actually, the slave here is actually the name of the agent where it is previously called in Hudson. So that's why they are calling it a slave here, right? It's nothing big deal here. But actually, slave and agents are pretty much the same thing. So as the paragraph says, I have actually just copied this content from the Jenkins page directly, so nothing a big deal here. So it actually says that if you want to delegate the execution of your workload into multiple machines, agents are really helpful, right? So we are going to use these agents to delegate our task, as the name it is. We are going to use the agent for in Jenkins. So there are different ways of starting slave agents, or then slave agents, of course, here is much meaningful because it is a combination of both. So there are different ways for starting the slave agents, something like having a master launch slave agent via SSH, or have a master launch slave agent on Windows and write your own script on launch Jenkins slave, or launch the slave agent via Java web start. So the fourth option is something which is what we're going to discuss in this particular video of this video course, because this is very simple. All you have to do is just download the slave.jar file, run it in a Java web start, and it will just run the agent for you and you can perform the operation. It's pretty straightforward and very easy to use with as well. So we're going to use the fourth option, and there is one more option which is nothing but launching the slave agent headlessly. Again, it is pretty much the same thing like the fourth one, but whereas it is going to run it headlessly, meaning you cannot run any UI options, something like that, right? So let's quickly see this in action and understand how things work. So for that, I'm going to flip to Jenkins. So what I'm going to do for configuring the agent, we actually have to go to our Jenkins, and once again, for configuring anything in Jenkins, we have to go to this option, the manage Jenkins option, right? And then here we have something called as manage nodes. So there is nothing called slave anywhere here. It's all nodes and agents, something like that. So if you go to the nodes here, there is something called as a new node, right? So this is the master node. Remember in our previous video series, we were actually using this master node to be specified for our pipeline project, right? That's exactly it is. So I'm going to configure a new node here this time for delegating a work beyond this build executor status that you are seeing here is idle. So this is the build executor status of the master node, but we are going to create one more agent, so we'll have two more executors. So again, you can specify the executor numbers if you want, right? So I'm going to give a node name here. Let's call this as let's say I'm just virtually saying that it is running in a Ubuntu machine, so it is going to be an Ubuntu agent, and I'm going to make this as a permanent, and I'm going to hit OK. So this is how in a real world it happens. Basically, if you're going to specify an agent in multiple machines, that's where your actual load balancing is going to happen. It's not like if you can create multiple agents in your own machine, the same machine, it's not going to run parallelly. Even if it is going to run parallelly, it is going to slow down your machine. So you have to specify or install the agent in different machines to see a real performance of using the agent, right? So the first thing we need to do is the number of executors you want to have. Let's say there are two executors already. So I'm going to set executors as 3, and then I'm going to label it. So maybe I'm going to label it as Ubuntu, something like that. Pretty much the same name. And then the usage of this node is use this node as much as possible, not only for building a job, right? I'm going to select this. And the root node is very, very important. So this is where your actual files are going to sit, whichever you are building. So let's say I'm going to call this as a temp, and let's call this as an agent, something like that, right? Let's call this as Ubuntu agent, maybe Ubuntu agent, right? And the launch method, as I said, there are 4 launch methods available, and I'm going to select the launch agent via web start and keep this agent online as much as possible as well. And then I'm going to hit save. So I'm not going to set any node properties here, let it be there. But once we have created a node, it will be in offline state because we have not started any jar file yet where it can start the slave for us. And you can see that the current status is offline. So now if I go to the Ubuntu, you can see that we have something called as a launch agent from the browser. So if you're going to specify this, it is going to launch the browser, the agent from the browser itself. But I'm not going to take this method this time. Maybe I'm going to take the second option that you can see here, is to download a slave.jar. You can see that it is going to download something for us. It's sitting in my downloads folder. And then you can just specify this particular command to execute that, right? Pretty straightforward. So let's quickly do this. I'm going to go to the download folder of my machine, and let's run this as an administrator mode. And here I'm going to say java-jar slave.jar, and this particular JNLP URL, we have to specify that because there is a secret key as well. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it over here. And if I hit enter, you can see that it is going to start a slave agent for us. And now if I do a refresh, by going back there, you can see that our Ubuntu is also available, and currently it is not offline, it is running, right? So now you can see that we have a master and we have a Ubuntu agent as well. So it is going to execute whichever task that you're going to specify in that particular node. So for a quick test, let's say what we're going to do is I'm going to go to the dashboard, go to the .NET pipeline, and here for the configure, instead of the node that we have specified as, we have not specified anything. So if I specify the node as Ubuntu, and if I hit save, it is going to take the Ubuntu. And now let's try to build. And if I go to the Jenkins this time, you can see that it is going to execute our test in the Ubuntu. You can see that it's a part of the .NET pipeline is actually executing the Ubuntu agent, right? So you can see that the test is actually executing. So this is how you can actually create an agent and configure that agent in your Jenkins, and also you can execute the build on that particular agent's executors, right? So that's it, guys. This is how you can configure it, and it is pretty much straightforward and easier as the name it is, right? We are going to make use of the agent a lot in our upcoming videos of this course, because while we execute the test on multiple browser, agents are very, very important. So we are going to make use of that, right? So that's it, guys. Once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and have a great day.